What is going on, guys? It's not Armor004 this time, but it is in fact Faye the 4th. So you might be asking, why am I back here to cover bad Nova Grappler decks again? I thought I had enough of this clan. Well, I've had enough of Ethics Buster, as you know. But you know, even though Ethics Buster Extreme is still the strongest deck of all time because it's a 12k vanilla. But here we're gonna cover a significantly weaker deck that will hopefully get you through this new wave of V tournaments that Bushiroad has finally given us. And in this case, we're gonna be going through Blaus. So Blaus is an archetype that is almost as old as Vanguard itself. It has a very long history spreading from the original era to G to V, and then now, you know, recently we have a brand new archetype in Blue Death Star that honors this entire archetype in terms of its playstyle. But you know, we're just gonna go through. It is one of its most modern iterations to possibly the strongest Nova Grappler that we have now. Possibly. I mean, who knows? Ethics Buster Extreme might get a PR soon. Who knows? Alright, so let's go over the great trees. As I've already spoiled, we are playing 4 copies of Stern Blau and we are playing 4 copies of Galaxy Blau. So these 2 cards go in tandem because they are, of course, in the original Great Tree of Blaus, as well as the Cross Ride. So both of these have the continuous ability. As long as you have the Grade 2 Blau in your soul, because as you know, it's a right chain. You know, you go from Blau Jungle to Blau Panzer to Blau Kluger, and then into Stern, and then you cross ride into Galaxy. But if you have the Grade 2 of this right line in your soul, you get all of your Grade 3 Blaus units, not just Vanguard or Rearguard units. So it means your Vanguard or your Rearguard, let's say you have a Rearguard Blau Grade 3. If it's a Grade 3 Blau, they all gain 10k. So they're all very strong beaters. Your Vanguard's 22k. If you play XL1, it's 32. If you play XL2, it's 27. Which is still very good magic numbers against everything in this format. Steam Maidens stand absolutely no chance. Then, going to the specific abilities, Stern Blau has the ability, at the end of the battle that it attacked, discard 2 cards from your hand. So no Counter Blast, no Soul Blast, nothing. Just discard. You bind a Galaxy Blau from your rearguard circle, and then you ride it as stand. So in a absolutely sheer unthinkable foresight from V series Bushiroad R&D, they actually realized that that trigger power when you rewrite a rearguard to the Vanguard remains on the unit because it's tied to the unit. In case any Zero kids have played Padding or you know, if any Me2 players are out there, trigger power remains if you rewrite the Vanguard. So binding it removes the trigger power, so it makes it a bit more balanced, I guess. Not that Nova Grappler needed balancing. I mean, you don't play this clan, right? And then, so that gives you a restanding Vanguard pressure that's not reliant on hit or anything. You just have to have the Galaxy Blau on the rearguard circle, which we will ensure that you have a lot of options now to get it back to your hand. In terms of Galaxy Blau has the ability is that he has the same continuous skill, which is that he gives all your Grade 3 Blau units 10k. Then when he attacks, you Counter Blast 1, you choose a Stern Blau from your soul, and you call it to rearguard circle. So basically it means that the Stern Blau from your soul doesn't sit idly by. You can carve out as a 22k attacker or 32k attacker depending on whether you go XL1 or XL2. So that not only refuels your board, it also gives you an extra Vanguard attack and rearguard attack at the same time, which is very strong for Nova Grappler. It's all about multi-attacking and pressuring your unit a lot more, especially since they all gain 10k. So it's a very simple duo of Grade 3s that you don't really need to explain that much because they're just there for the power, and the rest of the deck is there for the consistency. Because this variant of the deck, in Blaus actually is quite a modular deck where it's really just an 18 card core, and you can build the rest of the deck any way you want. So we're just going to show you one variant which is focused around fronts and focused around building very wide and just beating your opponent to death. Rather than you can play high crit variants, but you do have to play a bit more cautiously because it is basically just like playing Overlord. It's just a restanding Vanguard, and then you also pressure off with high power rearguards, and you restand those rearguards with +1 crit. So as for the Grade 2s, we are playing 4 copies of Blau, the most important Grade 2 in this deck. We are playing 3 copies of Stylish Hustler, the second strongest Grade 2 in Nova Grappler. That is not Kiki Typhoon. We're playing 2 copies of Brutal Jack because we need to have some better beaters. So Brutal Jack is so I'll go over the simpler ones. Brutal Jack, I think you've seen it in our Ethics Buster video before, is Vanguard or rearguard circle during a turn against 10k. So it's always 19k and it basically is there to as an extra 2 extra copies of your grade 3 Blau units, because your Blaus are hitting for 22, and then if you're playing against Force, then the extra 3000 bar actually doesn't really make that much of a difference. It's still hitting for 10k guard. So Brutal Jack as well as your grade 3 Blaus are actually hitting for almost the same number. So it's just an additional 2 extra copies of your grade 3 Blaus that can beat for good numbers during your turn. But it has, of course, it has the restriction is that during your stand phase, this unit does not stand. So, and in order for you to stand this unit, it has an act ability that you have to rest 2 of your rear guards. So usually, you never really want to do that because Brutal Jack is just there as a stand-in for you to get your grade 3 Blaus. When it's done its job, you just intercept with it, and then you replace it with a grade 3 Blau, which is significantly better anyways. Then as for Stylish Hustler is for the event that you go up against many control matchups in V, such as Kagero, Narukami, anything like Narukami, anything that has anything retire, because it says when your other unit is retired, okay, so for things that also like Tabas and Loan, which is decks that you're definitely going to be fighting against. For when one of your other rear guards is retired, you may Soul Blast 1, and instead of it being retired and going to the drop zone, you add it back to your hand. So this is not a once per turn ability, so long as you have enough Soul, and of course you don't Soul Blast out your Blau V, because then what are you doing? You can add all your important pieces back to hand in order to prevent you from getting zoned out and then losing all your tempo. Because Nova Grappler, of course, is a deck that is very rear guard reliant, and especially this deck, even more so, you are going very, very wide and you're spreading a lot of units to attack. Then we go into Blau V, the most important grade 2 in this deck. Its on-place ability on Vanguard Circle is Karna Blast 1. You look at the top 7 cards of your deck, you choose 1 card with Blau in its name. It can be any grade, it can be any Blau of all time. It can even be G era Blaus, it can be V era Blaus, it can be original era Blaus. Any single Blau, you can add it into your hand. And for absolutely no drawback, you don't have to discard anything, no, nothing. And then it's so basically this is there for consistency, because you do need one Stern and 1 Galaxy each in order to be able to do the pop off on turn 3. And then Blau V also has a safety net in the event that you were not able to ride him, is that when at the end of the battle that he attacks, you may put him into your soul to draw a card. So as you know, Stern and Galaxy both need the original grade 2 Blau V in order to get the plus 10k power to all your grade 3 Blau units. So in order to activate that condition, you can just attack with it and then put it into the soul, and then you're able to get the plus 10k off, which is huge consistency boost to this deck, because otherwise if you were unable to add it into your soul, it would be very, very problematic. As for our grade 1s, we are playing 4 copies of Blau Panzer. This is Blau Panzer. 4 copies of the Extreme Battle of Arashid. 2 copies of Morgan Road, the Break Right era starter for Blaus. And then 3 copies of Starfighter Silver Fist, and then 3 copies of Grip Bengal. So I'll go over Grip Bengal first. Grip Bengal and Silver Fist actually go as a combo because they are God Hand support, as you know. So Grip Bengal says when placed on rearguard circle, you choose a front trigger from your hand and you put it to the top of the deck. So basically this guarantees that you can get a lot of power on your rearguard circle. Let's say you build a lot of Blau units on your rearguard circle, you're able to profit all from having so many Blau units by stacking the front on top of the deck. They all go from just 27 to 37, which is very, very difficult for your opponent to guard, especially if there's so many of them on board. But why stop at 37 when you can go to 42? Because that's where Starfighter Silver Fist comes in. Starfighter Silver Fist is probably the strongest grade 1 Nova Grappler front trigger builds have, because him as well as okay, I forgot the grade 2 of the God Hand's name, but never mind. So his skill is that on Vanguard or rearguard circle, when you check a front trigger, the front trigger, instead of just giving the increase of the power from the front trigger increases by 5k. So instead of just being 10k to your front row, it's 15k to your down front row, which means all your magic numbers are now hitting a lot higher against Excel, and you might even be able to beat over Force finally. So Steam Maidens beware. And it has a second ability which you never really go into, which is that when its attack hits on Vanguard Circle, you discard a card to draw a card. So it can let you cycle through your quick shield or in order to get your Blau units. It props up sometimes, but we have much better alright options in this deck, honestly. Moving on to our alright options, we have Blau Panzer, of course. So Blau Panzer is the original grade 1 of the Blau right line from all the way back in the original era. Its skill is that when rolled upon, if you have Blau Jungle in your soul, you look at the top 5 cards of your deck, you choose one card with Blau in its card name, you add it to your hand. So it's the same as the grade as Blau Kruger, except we do not need to pay a counter blast, but it's only top 5 instead of top 7. And then its second ability is to harken back to the truly harken back to the original era of right chains, which is that when discard a trigger unit from your hand to search your deck for a grade 3 Blau and add it to your hand. So this is to maximize your consistency with this deck. By neutralizing your defense, you're able to max out your offense by adding any of your grade 3 Blaus that you're missing. So let's say you have Stun in hand, you add Galaxy. You have Galaxy in hand, you add Stun. So it's really a lot of consistency in this deck, and you really will have very hard time breaking if you plan out correctly. You know, you're able to dish out, know that you will be able to win just by putting out enough damage. So it means you can throw away your triggers, throwing your triggers in the safety, knowing that you will win the next turn. Moving on, because this deck is very reliant on having grade 3s, we are playing 4 copies of Extreme Battle Arashid. So Arashid is very simple, it's the grade 3 searcher for Nova Grappler, and his ability to gain 5k doesn't really pop up in this version of the deck because we do not play any Withstanders. But overall, just being able to search out grade 3s from the top 5 is very strong for a deck that needs multiple, that its win condition is to spread out as many grade 3s as you possibly can. And like that being said, there are of course matchups where your opponent will wisen up and they're gonna start attacking your rear guards. So so it's better off to prevent them from attacking your rear guards. We play 2 copies of Morgan Rod. So Morgan Rod is his V series counterpart now has the abilities that at the end of the battle that he boosted, retire this unit. You may choose a grade 3 unit with Blau in his card name and return it into your hand from your rear guard circle. So basically you know how Galaxy, when rolled upon by Stun, he will call out the Stun Blau Kruger to be able to beat. Now Morgan Rod, after it boosts, you can return the Stun Blau Kruger back to your hand to be used the next turn for you to rewrite. So it allows you to basically loop the rewrite, because Galaxy Blau Kruger will then call himself out, thus giving you all the components that you need to do the combo once again. And the only reason why we run him at 2 copies is because normally, because this is Nova Grappler, you do want to try and kill your opponent very quickly, so there will not be much opportunity for you to use Morgan Rod, and the excess copies are just going to be excess shield in your hand, which we can play better grade 1s for that. As for triggers, I think we've already said it's very self-explanatory. We play 8 front, so we play 4 of that and 4 cannonball. We play 4 draw because this is a very piece reliant deck, so we do need the draws in order to be able to get not just as perfect guards, but it's also in order to get into our pieces, get into our grade 3 Blaus, things like that. And of course we play heal triggers because it's card 5 Vanguard. We do not play the heal Guardians because we actually do want to take some damage in the early game, as well as there are a lot of attacks that are good, and this deck is a deck that wants to play into the late game. It wants to be able to kill as quickly as possible. So when your opponent knows that you're going to be ramping up, they're going to try to hold off on their super big attacks for later on when your heal Guardians will be very useless anyways. And thus, the 20k shield triggers will come in very handy, especially you're fighting things like Steam Maidens, you're fighting things like Luat, like Tabas with just gigantic numbers. 20k shield is very important for that. And that is it for this deck profile. It's a very simple, very self-explanatory deck. Overall, I think Blaus in V are in a very good spot right now because Steam Maidens is still a threat. It does not have the super irritating guard restrict anymore, and you also have just so much more variety of decks that don't really go that high on aggro, which gives Blaus a lot of breathing room to just beat your opponent to death, and you can go very wide. And a lot of people won't actually expect to have this much explosive output from Nova Grappler, especially from a deck that doesn't require any VRs. I mean, I know that's not really it's not really much of a distinguishing factor anymore because Steam Maidens also doesn't need a VR. A lot of decks don't need VRs anymore, but this is just one option that you have. It's time to brew them. Thank you so much for watching. We'll see you next time. Goodbye.